Hi there everyone, welcome to my channel, Aqualuna73. We're going to do a moon and Lagna reading for the sign of Aries. Please remember these are Vedic tarot readings, so if your sun sign is in Aries, it's not going to be a sun sign in, it's not going to be the same in Vedic astrology, but you still might resonate with whatever might come through for you in this reading. The readings are very long, okay, because it's astrology readings. It's not only intuitive, but I also base the readings off the stories that I tell around the readings based off the planetary energies that are currently in your sign, okay? So the download that I got for you, Aries, Moon, and Lagna. Sorry, my nose is blocked. Okay, my nose is blocked. If I sound strange, and I have my coffee here, just don't mind me. I just want to sip some coffee. Anyway, there is, I don't know if you are a Star Trek, Star Wars fan, if you like science fiction, but there was this, I've had this download before, but this was a very long time ago. There is a specific episode in Star Trek, The New Generation. Okay, this every Star Trek series, I mean set of episodes, if I can put it that way, has a different title. And the series with Captain Picard as Captain, the specific scene comes from The New Generation, Star Trek The New Generation, the episode The Measure of a Man. Okay, and this specific episode is very important, and it's a very highly regarded specific episode from Star Trek The Next Generation. So I'm going to just briefly explain to you, for those of you who are not, this is what I'm going to say. It's, I don't know how long this is going to take. See, the devil is at the bottom of the deck here. Okay, I think this is very relevant for this reading, because I don't know, I don't think we have to explain ourselves, okay, when it comes to this energy. But anyway, in season 2, okay, episode 9, um what happens is there's a central issue surrounding Data. Data is an android. He's not human, he's an android. Okay, in this episode there is a court case, and they have to decide whether Data is a person or if he is property. Okay, so I'm going to just briefly explain us the Starfleet. Oh my god, my nose is so blocked. The Starfleet cyber neticist, okay, I hope I'm saying this correctly, Commander Bruce Maddox. Okay, he wants to dismantle Data so he can study his positronic brain and potentially create more androids like him. Okay, Data refuses because Maddox isn't confident that he can put Data back together again after he's finished. Okay, Data attempts to resign from Starfleet to escape the procedure, but Maddox argues that Data is Starfleet property, meaning he isn't legally allowed to refuse. Okay, and this leads to a very extraordinary courtroom confrontation, and I suggest you go watch this. It's wow, it's just a wow episode. If you come from a perspective where you come from a history of people that were oppressed, even females can look at it, okay, because it's very relevant to them and the oppression that females had to face for centuries, as well as black people, people's ancestors who were slaves, etc. Just go watch that. It's, man, just go watch it. Okay. It's amazing. Anyway, Captain Picard, okay, he becomes Data's advocate, while Riker is forced to argue, and they're all friends. Okay, Riker, Data, and Captain Picard, all three of them are friends. But Captain Picard ends up defending Data, and Riker, who's also like they're very tight, a very close group of male friends. He has to be the prosecutor, okay? While Riker is forced to argue, obviously, the opposing side, and Riker hates having to do this, okay, because he knows the outcome could literally mean that it could mean the destruction of Data, and it's their friend, okay. They've worked together for years, and Data, they later didn't see him as an android, they saw him as just a life and their friend, okay. Excuse me. And he is basically ordered to make a very strong possible case against Data, and like internally it's like very difficult for him because Data is his friend. And the really fascinating part about this is Picard's argument, okay. Data is intelligent, therefore he is human. This is his reasoning, okay. Just hold on, I'm drinking more coffee, okay. I mean, Picard's argument isn't simply that Data is intelligent, therefore he's human. Instead, he forces the court to confront three fundamental questions about sentience, okay, or being sentient. And the three questions is Data intelligent? Is Data self-aware or conscious? And does Data have free will? If Data can satisfy those questions, then declaring him property creates an enormous moral and legal problem, okay? And Picard basically makes the point that decision isn't really just about Data. It establishes what happens to every, I wouldn't even say every artificial life form. Even if you look at it, just like I said, from a perspective of females that were oppressed under patriarchy, if you look at slavery, okay, it establishes what happens to every artificial life form, basically, that might be created in the future, okay? And this is why this episode has aged over the years so remarkably well because of this. And Star Trek itself describes this episode as being about Data's personhood and his right to make his own choices. Captain Picard is very brilliant in this role, and he doesn't merely defend Data because Data is an officer or his friend. He recognizes that Starfleet can declare Data property, and Starfleet has crossed basically then a fundamental ethical line, okay? Because if you look and you're a fan of Star Trek, you will understand that Star Trek, the basis of Star Trek, is not to conquer worlds but to explore it, okay? This is why I'm telling you, it's crossing a fundamental ethical line. And there's also a irony to this, okay? Riker is the one who demonstrates that Data is merely a machine, okay? And he does his job very well, and he almost wins the case, okay? And this is what makes this episode much more emotionally powerful than if everyone simply agreed that Data was obviously a person. In the end, okay, Data and Riker is particularly touching. The ending, I mean, because in the end of the case, Data doesn't blame Riker, okay. Data understand that Riker was just doing what he had to do, okay, in this case. And basically just go watch it, okay. you want to go. I don't know who this is for and why I got this download, but we're going to see what energies is popping up for you. What lessons and messages to have for my Aries, Moon and Lagna collective. Please and thank you. Okay, this card wanted to flip out. What lessons and messages to have? God, God's Son, Jesus Christ. This card also wanted to come out. What lessons and messages to have for my collective? God, God's Son, Jesus Christ, Holy Spirit, Amun Rama, the Hecate, my ancestors of love and light and of guidance and protection. Protect me while I do this reading. And please give me guidance and clear messages as to what you want to allow to come through for Aries, Moon and Lagna for this reading tarot reading. Please and thank you. And so mote it be. Amen. In Jesus' name. Okay. I'm going to take these and another card. 4 cards to start with. You got the Temperance, you got the 4 of Cups, 2 of Swords, and then you got the 2 of Wands. And now I'm going to draw an oracle card or 2 oracle cards. I think we're going to call this reading the measure of a soul, okay? Seeing that I got data as a download of that specific episode. And we're going to build a reading around that. And I'm going to try and create it in story form so that you can maybe find this reading more interesting. I'm going to draw another card. Ancient Amulets. Fortune, Protection, Skills and Possession. The Spiral Dancer. Circuitous Route and Perception. Perception. This reading is maybe about perception. Discipline, armor and boundaries. Okay, on how we perceive things. Okay, or on how we label things. Anyway, let's continue. The measure of a soul. I see a chamber, okay? In this chamber, it's silent. And there's a low vibration of a city beneath this chamber. This chamber had glass walls, okay? And thousands of lights move through the darkness like stars. It's almost like stars that's trapped beneath the ocean, okay? Stars, I'm looking at this, look here. I'm looking at this. It looks like little stars here. At the center of this specific chamber, okay, there's someone standing there. This individual. There's someone standing there in this chamber. Let's call this person Elliot, okay? He looked human. Elliot looked human. Like Data, okay? Elliot looked human like Data. And this is always what the problem is, or was, or is, or had always been the problem. Okay, it's almost like, listen, I gave you the story, so I'm building my reading. It's almost like this life, Elliot, was created 12 years ago to assist humanity, humanity's first generation of deep space colonies, okay? And he could calculate orbital trajectories faster than any human crew could do this because of his brain capacity. He could remember every conversation he had ever experienced. He could recognize fear in a person's voice, but he was never recognized fully as a human being or a person. Okay. You see, this individual is very sad. This person's boundaries is also up. To the government that created Elliot, he was just an instrument. A very remarkable, oh my god, this is so, oh, the me talking. He's an android. It says discipline, armor, boundaries. He's a sophisticated instrument created by the government. But nonetheless, in this council, okay, there's a council wanted to prove this. Say, for instance, there's a director, okay, the director represents one of these characters in the movie. Okay, and he says to you, say, Director Voss. Say, for instance, his name is Voss. And he says to Elliot, you understand why you've been brought here? And Elliot says, yes. And you understand that your central cognition system will be transferred to the new architecture? And he says, yes. And he says, you also understand that the procedure may be permanently alter you. Basically, the procedure will permanently alter his consciousness. And Elliot paused. Okay. It's a scene that he had that I previously described, where they wanted to dismantle data. And he said, I can understand that I will not, you cannot guarantee that I will remain myself. And several members of the council exchanged glances with each other, and this director was leaned forward. And he says that is an unnecessary emotional interpretation. And data tells him, I am not interpreting emotionally. And then he says to him, yeah, with his temperance card. Temperance speaks of balance, okay. He says, I'm not interpreting emotionally. And he asks him, what are you doing then? And he basically says, I'm protecting my continuity. He's protecting his continuity. A boundary is being protected. And the room became silent. The chief engineer in this council became very uncomfortable. And he says, machines don't have continuity. And Elliot looked at him and he says, I do. And this is a Director Voss, right? I see it, Director Voss. He smiled and he tells Elliot, okay, this is what we are here in this court. We are here to determine with this card, because he wants, this man is looking at this globe. It's a two of one. It speaks like someone basically on the precipice of deciding on, he's looking over the horizon, he's deciding on What is he going to do? So basically, it's something impending, okay? And today it comes across as some type of impending outcome. There's two of wands. Elliot's advocate, the person representing him, like Data was represented by Captain Picard. He was represented by a human female. Let's call her, the words Mara Singh is coming to mind. Okay, maybe it's relevant for someone, the names that I'm mentioning, like Elliot, Mara Singh. Okay. She's a former, maybe a former colony commander who worked 7 years beside Data. Okay. And basically, she didn't want this assignment. She didn't want this assignment. This is what I pick up with a spiral dance. It's a female energy. And it's not because she believed Elliot was a machine, because she knew what would happen if she lost, okay? This council would establish a precedent, okay? A precedent, not precedent, pre, like Precedent. What it means is basically is that every artificial, this case is important, and the decision they make there is going to determine that every artificial consciousness created after this could be owned, modified, copied, dismantled, or erased, okay, basically at the discretion of whoever possessed its manufacturing license. Okay. And Mara was standing in front of this. Yeah, she's standing in front of this tribunal. Okay. And she's basically explaining to the people here in this court or council. My client is not asking for special treatment, she said. He's asking for the same protection that every conscious being receives. And this Voss interrupts. And he says, your client is manufactured. So are the buildings. He has no biological origin. Neither does a child born through artificial fertilization. He was programmed, okay? So are humans, shaped by generations. I mean, so are human brains, okay? Shaped by genetics. I think this is what she answers. She's basically telling him, our human brains are also shaped by genetics. Our genetics, our environment, and our experiences. Okay. So technically speaking, what she wants to say is the same way he was programmed, we were also programmed, okay? By our genetics, by our environment, and our experiences. And Voss is basically just shaking his head and he's saying, you are confusing complexity with personhood. And at that moment, Mara is looking at Elliot. And she sees, and she's looking at Elliot. Her eyes is looking at, her eyes are moving from Elliot to the council. And she says, no, I'm asking the council to tell us where the difference lies. Where does the difference actually lie? Okay. Oh, there's already 3 cards. This one. You got the 10 of Cups, Page of Wands, the 9 of Wands, and then you have the 6 of Coins here. They decide to call in witnesses to testify in this case, okay? And they basically testify, these engineers, that Elliot's memory could be copied. Psychologists testify that his emotional responses could be simulated, and scientists explained that his body could be repaired. Okay. And Voss's final witness was the architect who originally designed Elliot. And he asks this designer, does Elliot have a soul? I mean, Mara asks this, okay. Voss calls the final witness, and Mara questions this witness, and she asks, does Elliot, okay, just gnomes, hidden familiars. Okay, so this is the cards that you got. Gnomes, humanity, friendship, hard work, little visions. Hidden familiars, allies, natural assistance, divine support, and comfort. I think these allies are the friends of Data, or whoever this reading is for. If you are the person experiencing this, you could be a cross watcher, someone you know could be going through this. I have no idea, okay. And then the other card, telekinesis, influence, willpower, control, and obstacles. It's definitely up to do with obstacles, okay. It's also, it could be, if it's the support system that this individual has, is, it says divine support. It could be spiritual guides, God, you know, whoever you believe in. These are your allies. Okay, so Mara asks, does Elliot possess a soul? The architect or the creator of, I almost wanted to say Data, of Elliot smiles and says, I don't know. And she asks, did you give him one? And he says, no. Then what did you give him? She asks, and he says, an architecture. Basically, he says, I gave him an architecture of capable of learning. Okay. I gave him an architecture of learning. This card is a card of family. Data also, I know Data, I can't remember everything very well, but I know there is also an episode where Data has a little girl that's under his key that he adopts. Okay. I think it's also, I can't remember everything because this is what's coming through also. Did you program Data to love? I mean, Elliot to love? And the architect says no. This card represents family love. She asks, did you program him to fear death? This is an injury card. This person is injured. Okay. Did you program him to fear death? And he says no. And she asks, did you program him to ask what happens after death? And he also answers no. And Mara is basically turning towards, today this card is coming through as, it is a chariot card. I mean, not a chariot, a charity card of helping people, okay? Of helping people that are in need. Mara basically turns to this tribunal or this council and she says maybe then perhaps the most important things about Elliot were never programmed. And Voss stood up. Or perhaps he says they are simply very sophisticated, sophisticated imitations. Mara basically is looking at this man and she says, how would you know? And he's frowning. And he says, because I'm human. And she says to him, she says to him, maybe that's the problem of the whole situation. And there's the silence. It's just this utter silence after she says this. And she says after this brief silence, you are asking a machine to prove that it is conscious, using standards that only a conscious being can interpret. And she walked slowly towards Elliot and she asked, Elliot, if the council orders you to undergo the procedure, what will happen? And he says, I will resist. With this card, it says willpower, control, and obstacles, influence. It says, he says, I will resist because I want to. He says, I will resist. And she asks him why. Because I want to continue existing. And she asks him why. And there's this pause, and he looks at her for a few seconds. Because there are things that I haven't finished yet, he says. She asks him what things. Elliot's voice became quieter, and he says, I have not yet returned to the northern colony. And she again asks him why. And she says, I just told you about the child, remember? In the movie, the episodes, in the series episodes of Star Trek. He has a child, and he tells her there's a child there who believes I will come back. And when he says this, her eyes softened. What's her name? And he says, her name is Anya. And why does she believe you will return? Eden Familias is coming through with us. Why does she believe you will return? Because you gave her comfort. Because Data Elliot gave this little girl comfort, divine support, natural assistant, and he was an ally. Okay. The gnome's card says he showed humanity towards her, friendship. He showed her what hard work means. Okay. And with his little visions, it's almost like because she was a 10-year-old girl or a small child, I can't remember exactly what her age was. He basically is her mentor, and he nurtures this visions, these little visions, because she's a little person. She has dreams. Okay. He nurtures these little visions in her, or little dreams. And basically, she asks him, Mara asks him, why does Anya believe you will return? Because I made a promise. And here is this thing that's very important. She asks him, why does this matter to you? With this card, it's family, it's love, okay? There's love there with this also. These two fire cards and this card as well. Sacrifice. This card comes across as sacrifice today. Why does that matter to you? She asks him. And Elliot says, he looks towards the this council or tribunal, and he says, I don't know how to explain that in a way you will accept. Mara nodded. That's enough, she says. And the council withdrew. Hours have passed, and the doors opened again, and everyone stood like, the procedures in a court case. And the presiding judge looked at Elliot, and the council, he says, has reached a decision. And Elliot waits. And they say the council finds that the evidence does not establish beyond reasonable doubt that Elliot possesses consciousness in the legal sense. And Voss is very satisfied with this. Mara isn't. She closes her eyes. And then the judge continues. But the council also finds that no member can establish beyond reasonable doubt that he does not. And immediately when Voss hears this, his smile disappears. The judge continues. Let's draw a few more cards. Knight of Swords, Magician, and the conflict card, Five of Wands. Basically, the judge continues. Okay, it's a judgment today. This Knight of Swords comes across as like type of swift judgment, okay? The judge continues and says, where consciousness cannot be disproved, the state cannot treat uncertainty as permission for destruction. Okay. And in that moment, Elliot remained perfectly still. And they say the procedure is therefore forbidden without Elliot's consent. And at that moment, this chamber erupts. Conflict. Okay. The magician today comes across as, the magician is a card of alchemy, okay, change. But it's something profound when this card appears. Voss protested. The officials demanded reconsideration. But Mara heard none of it. She walked toward Elliot and she says, you won. Elliot looked at her. No. He says, she frowns. What do you mean? She says to him. And he basically tells her, I wasn't trying to win. Then what were you trying to do? She asks him. He looks through the glass at the city below. And he answers her with this magician card. It comes across as, I was trying to remain myself, he says. She smiles and she tells him perhaps that's what winning means. Okay. The River Queen. Okay, this is the Oracle cards. The River Queen, flow, letting go, natural movement, Rakit, psychic flames, 333, sacred milk, and Druid magic. And the keeper of the scales, Venus, and balance. And this is what's playing out here. Justice, basically. Venus in balance, Libra energy. Okay. Brigitte is also a goddess from Ireland, associated with Irish Christianity. Okay, she was like glorified as a saint, Saint Brigitte. Outside of the city, the lights continued moving through the darkness. And for the first time in the 12 years that Elliot was working in Starfleet, he walked through a door and he was legally free to choose himself. And he basically stopped before this door and then he opened it. And he didn't do it because someone ordered him to do it. And not because he was programmed to do it, but because he wanted to see what was on the other side. Now I want to just go through the Aries moon and Nagna and the synchronicity with, and I have a chart here, okay? So just bear with me. I have a chart here and I want to just um, go through this specific planetary alignments, because there's a very interesting synchronicity between the story's theme and the current Vedic energies that at play. Okay, so it's a sun. It's a sun. The planets are the sun. Leo 8 degrees, current sidereal sign. House from Aries. Okay, fifth house. Identity, creativity, and intelligence. That's the main theme. And then we have Mercury. Okay, current sidereal sign Leo, 6 degrees. House is the fifth house. Thinking, expression, decisions. This is what it affects. And then we have Ketu, current sidereal sign Leo, 4 to 5 degrees. House of Aries, obviously, which is you, is the fifth house, and it concerns detachment, questioning, and identity. And then we have Venus, current sidereal sign Virgo, 23 degrees, the sixth house, which covers relationships, work, and refinement. Okay. Then we have Mars, current sidereal sign Gemini, 14 to 15 degrees, also house of Aries, which is you, third house. It covers courage, communication, and action. Then Jupiter, current sidereal sign is Cancer, 17 to 18 degrees, fourth house, which it covers protection, home, and emotional growth. And then we have Saturn, current sidereal sign is Pisces, 19 degrees, which is the 12th house, and this covers withdrawal, karmic closure, and discipline. Okay, then we have Rahu, which is the current sidereal sign is Aquarius, 4 to 5 degrees, and it covers your 11th house, which is network, ambition, and unconventional gains. Okay, and then we have the last one, Moon. The planet, the moon. The moon is also considered a planet, okay, in astrology. Current sidereal sign is Capricorn, 14 to 15 degrees, and it's your 10th house, which covers career, responsibility, and visibility. So I don't know who I'm reading for. Just bear this in mind and do the necessary adjustments where it needs to be adjusted, okay? So basically, the same house structure applies when Aries is your moon sign, okay? The current moon is in Capricorn, making it the 10th house from Aries and moon, while Jupiter is in Cancer, the 4th, Saturn in Pisces, the 12th, and Rahu in Aquarius, the 11th, okay? This sidereal data is basically consistent across current sources. The current sources that I studied for this energy. I mean, the charts that I drew up or studied, the planetary charts, I mean. So basically, the biggest energy for your Aries, Moon, and Nagla is being pushed to mature. It's not a passive period for your Aries. Your ruler Mars is all your ruler is Mars, okay, is currently in Gemini, your third house. And this basically is a strong combination of Mars, third house equals initiative and courage, communication, writing, movement, decisions, and taking matters into your own hands. So you may feel an increasing need to say something, do something, confront something, learn something, or finally act on something that you've been thinking about for a long time, okay? But Gemini makes Mars very mentally fast. So the shadow basically is saying, I need to act now. And the higher expression is, I will act intelligently. And you have to understand this matters enormously. You don't want to act out of impulse on anything, okay? Okay, then the Sun, Mercury, Mosquito in Leo, and this is probably the most psychologically interesting combination for your Aries. Leo is in your 5th house. Okay, we're covering astrology now, and I'm looking at my notes that I made here when I did the astrology, Vedic astrology, planetary alignments. The 5th house concerns intelligence, creativity, self-expression, speculation, romance, children, intuition, and the deeper question of what comes for me from what comes from me. The Sun is strong in its own sign of Leo, but Mercury in Ketu is also there, and this can basically create some type of internal process, okay, like identity, questioning, insight, detachment, and then new identity. Okay, this is the pattern. You have an identity, you question, you gain insight, you detach, and you create a new identity. Ketu in the 5th house can make you question things you basically previously took for granted. And you think to yourself, yeah, with this Knight of Swords, you think it comes across, yeah, as inner conflict. You might think to yourself, why am I doing this? Do I actually want this? Is this really me? Why does this thing that used to satisfy me, why doesn't it satisfy me anymore? This is basically also very symbolic to the story I told about Data or Elliot. It's a philosophical story of what makes something or someone truly themselves or itself. Okay? Then Jupiter in Cancer is the protective influence. And this is a very, probably one of the most important positive factors. Okay? Jupiter is currently in Cancer. It's an exalting sign, okay? And therefore, it occupies your 4th house from Aries. And your 4th house represents emotional security, home, inner peace, and family, psychological foundations, property, home environment, and your heart. So basically, Jupiter here can bring a desire to create a safer inner world and not merely achieve things externally. And because Jupiter is aspecting the 10th house, it connects inner stability with career and public life. And you have to understand this is very significant. It's particularly significant because the moon is in your 10th house. So there's a strong 4th to 10th house axis active, like private life, public life, inner peace, achievement, home, career. What do I need emotionally? What does the world expect from you? And you discovering that in external success, okay, you discovering it doesn't feel satisfying unless your internal foundation is solid. Saturn is retrograding in Pisces, your 12th house, and this is the heavier part of your cycle. And this can feel like to you, Aries, like closure, solitude, karmic cleanup, restructuring the subconscious. And it basically makes you less interested in superficial noise. You may increasingly want to be surrounding yourself with fewer distractions, stronger boundaries, solitude, spiritual reflection, a better sleep and rest, closure with all situations, and freedom from obligations that drain you. Okay. Saturn in the 12th house isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's more like a cosmic adult asking, what are you carrying that's no longer needed? And because Saturn is retrograde, some of this work is internal. Rahu in Aquarius, Ketu in Leo, this is another major storyline, okay? Rahu is in your 11th house while Ketu is in your 5th house. And there's some type of fascinating tension here. Yeah. Ketu in the 5th says, I need to understand what is authentically mine. And Rahu in your 11th says, I want to connect with something much bigger than myself. And basically this shifts your attention toward community, networks, audiences, technology, unusual people, and unconventional opportunities. Okay. Ketu in your 5th house is warning you against becoming obsessed with validation. Okay. You don't need to everyone to understand why you're creating. You need to understand why you're creating things. Not, you don't need other people to understand it. You need to understand it. The moon is currently in Capricorn and around the middle of the sign. Okay. For Aries moon, that's the 10th house, which means what am I supposed to accomplish? That's Shravana. It's associated with listening, learning, absorbing information, and understanding through hearing. And this makes the energy less about impulsiveness, Aries, and more about listening, understanding, and then deciding, and then acting. This is actually a very beautiful antidote to the current Mars in Gemini, okay, energy that tends to move very quickly. So basically, the overall message for Aries Moon and Aries Lagna is, if I distill the current sky into one sentence, I almost wanted to say sentient. If I distill the current sky into one sentence, it would be, what would it be? It would be, you are being pushed to become more deliberate about who you are, about what you are building, and which obligations genuinely deserve your energy. Mars is telling you act, Saturn is saying wait and mature, Rahu says expand, Ketu says detach, Jupiter says protect your inner foundation, the Sun says create, and Mercury says think. The Moon says take responsibility. And this is why the story fits this particularly energy that I spoke about earlier. So basically, it's not about can I achieve what I want. It's basically an energy of asking what am I willing to be willing, what am I willing to become in order to achieve it. Okay, this is it for today, guys. I hope it was helpful. I don't know if I should do a follow-up reading of this, but this is a very intense energy. But anyway, God bless you guys. I love you. Please take care. Bye. Thank you for watching.